Guys, we're talking about the Lions' biggest needs in this offseason. Where do we start with this?
You start on the defensive side of the ball. You need a linebacker. Mm-hmm. You need an edge rusher. You need a quarterback. You do. Now, do you get one this year? Probably not. Probably not. But those are needs. Jared Goff is not the solution. And I'm sorry, Dan Campbell, how patient do you think people will be if 3 years from now you've had 3 losing seasons and you're just then moving off Jared Goff?
Right.
That is, again, that's difficult to pull off. That's why I think 6, 7, 8 wins is so important next year. But regardless of the point, I think this is going to be a summer of trades, and I hope it is. Can you get a 3rd-round pick? Hell, maybe even a 2nd. I doubt a 2nd. But can you get a 3rd and a 7th, a 3rd and a 6th for DeAndre Swift? Can you move him? Is he necessary to this football team? Clearly, he has big playability. We saw it against the Rams. Saw it against the Bears. But can he stay healthy enough?
Yeah.
And that's a big concern for me. And yes, you do have 2 first-round picks, which I both expect to be on the defensive side of the ball. So after that, you go into day 2. Well, here you go. Wide receiver, maybe? How long is Brad Holmes going to wait on a wide receiver? Or is this the year where he feels so damn confident about a wide receiver, he goes up at 2? Maybe he goes in the 2nd round, or not. Or maybe it's a safety, or a secondary player, or another D tackle. So many questions. But their needs are on the defensive side of the ball. Although you've seen improvement in the score, in terms of points allowed, you're still bottom of the NFL in terms of almost everything defensively. I mean, you're statistically just as bad as you were under Matt Patricia. But you've seen the significant improvement, and that's where stats can be deceiving, because I think we can all agree Aaron Glenn's done a phenomenal job with the defense.
Yep.
But on defense, they rank 30th in points, 28 in yards. And overall, 28 and 29 in total in the NFL. That's really... It's really like contradicting. Like, oh, you have like the worst statistical defense in the NFL. Oh, but your defense has kept you in so many games this year. And it's because they've had multiple games where they've given up less than 20 points. And they've had multiple games where they've given up more than 30. And they just dropped 50 to the Seahawks. And likely 28 to 31 against the Packers. And they aren't getting any healthier. So, yeah, look. You got to address the defensive side of the ball. This is the worst point differential year in the Lions' history since the 0-16 year of Rod Marinelli and the first year under Jim Schwartz. It was that bad. But, guys, I keep making the Jim Schwartz argument. I'm telling you, it's here. When's the last time a coach was that bad as Rod Marinelli and Matt Patricia, and then the next guy came in and statistically was worse?
Yeah.
Jim Schwartz. Now Dan Campbell. Jim Schwartz took over. The point differential the year prior on the 0-16 team was minus 249. Jim Schwartz, his first year, minus 232. Just as bad. What happened year 2? Well, they went 6-10. What have I been telling you? 6 to 8 wins. Year 3, 10-6. You saw what they can do. Now, they did regress after that, but the point is, you saw an evolution.
Yeah, the 3 years.
And now with Campbell, he took over Patricia. They were minus 142 last year in point differential. This year, they're on pace to be about 170, 180. Depends how much they lose to Green Bay by. But they're currently at minus 149. And if they beat Green Bay, that means they'll be above Patricia's, which means next year you'd expect them to be 6-11, 7-10. And maybe year 3, they're a 10-win football team. I see a lot of resemblance in terms of the project undertaken between Jim Schwartz and Dan Campbell. I see very similar projects. Different assets. Schwartz had Stafford, Calvin, Sue.
Different team, but
this team has an offensive line that team never had. This team has a tight end that team never had.
They got a run game.
This team has a run game that team never had. So they both are unique and different in their own ways. But what I see is maybe a potential progression that you know what? In 3 years, this could be a 10-11 win football team. And I would not be surprised. There's going to be a talented football team in a few years, guys. Stop making excuses. Please. I can't go another 58 years. It's going to be a talented football team.
Mm-hmm.
Coach needs to get it done. Quarterback needs to get it done. End of story. End of biggest needs in the offseason, got to address the defense.
And for me, I want to take this approach because biggest needs, obviously, positional-wise, you can go through it, wide receiver. You need defensive edge rushers, linebackers, safeties. I want to go what they should do, must-dos in the offseason. Number one, obvious, hit more than you miss in the draft. And that's a given, obviously. But especially this early in the rebuild, you have to start hitting on guys and landing immediate starters to help contribute and get better. I mean, you need to. These 2 first-round picks this year and next year, very important. The next one, don't worry about pulling the trigger in free agency. I think everybody starts talking about free agency. This year is going to be more about clearing cap space, not being more detrimental to your cap space. You got to find a way to get rid of Trey Flowers. You got to find a way to work some of these contracts. The third thing is player development, and that's big. This offseason is big for them. Tons of guys showed flashes. You've seen it 1 through 7 all rounds last year, but there's a reason they're called rookies. Levi Ozarike, Derek Barnes. They kind of took a step back in some games, and some guys showed that there's still plenty of room to grow. Really, the only one that's been consistently getting better is Amon-Ra St. Brown. That guy has been balling. Everybody else has shown, that they need to improve. And same with Amon-Ra. The next thing is they need to hit on your next offensive coordinator. You've already hit on one. You hit on your defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. Home run. Love the guy. Once you add talent, we know the defense is going to be solid. Offensively, Dan Campbell, ever since he started play calling, Jared Goff has looked better, but I don't think Dan Campbell's the solution. He's not the offensive coordinator of the future. You got Ben Johnson, maybe Deuce Staley. I'm willing to wait and see on those guys, but they need to hit on the offensive coordinator. If Ben Johnson is the move, great. Deuce Staley, I'm willing to wait, but you need to get that in order. You need to hit more than you miss in the draft, because these 2 next drafts are going to be huge. Whether it's finding a quarterback, whether it's getting 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years that are probably going to be immediate starters, and you need guys to get better. That is it. I mean, this team right now, you have 2 wins on the season. It's not like you're going to have a great free agency and turn this thing around in 1 year. It's going to take 2 years to really get your feet under it. Like the Jim Schwartz progression. I love it. I know we started looking up Jim Schwartz. His first season, 2 wins. Second season, 6 wins. Third season, 10 wins. That's the projection. You see Dan Campbell. Now, the comparisons between the two, that's another conversation. But in terms of projection as a team, I see it similarly like that. And if you want to be like that, we have more assets on this team. You have more first-round picks, so no excuse why they can't be. So to kind of just go through what I said, 3 things. Hit more than you miss in the draft. Don't worry about pulling the trigger in free agency. Clear cap space. And number 3, hit on your offensive coordinator. And then everybody else just needs to get better, man. That's all it is. If players continue to get better, Amon-Ra takes the next step, Levi Ozarike gets better, Ali McNeil gets better, Iffy getting more snaps, you're going to be just fine. You're going to have starters in the future, but you can't afford to regress. You can't have guys get worse. You know what I mean? Or from a coaching standpoint, you can't afford to regress and get worse. You can't afford it, especially this early in the rebuild. You're affording, to set your franchise back even farther. So that's what needs to happen this offseason, man. All 3 of those things.
Yeah, I feel what I see on the Lions' defensive side of the ball is a lot of depth players, but not many impact number 1s. And in this draft, you need to hit on 2.
Yep.
And preferably an edge rusher and a linebacker. But even if they don't go edge rusher early on, and they don't even take one till the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, I would be more than okay with that. But you got to get the linebacker. For me, it's tough to imagine a first round where the Lions don't walk away with Nakobe Dean or Devin Floyd.
Yeah.
You don't walk away with Devin Lloyd or Nakobe Dean. Man, how many more years do you want to go without a real linebacker in Detroit?
It's tough, yeah.